I sat alone in my sleek office at the headquarters of Midwest Financial, the morning light catching the edge of the brass nameplate on my desk. Saracen Sue. In just 3 hours, I'd walk into the company's flagship branch, the same branch where, 5 years earlier, my parents had wiped out my college fund to bankroll my brother Mark's so-called guaranteed startup. Miss Chin, my assistant Rachel, appeared at the door. Your parents just arrived at the downtown location. They believe they're here to finalize their mortgage refinancing. I gave a slight nod, memories of our last family dinner surfacing. That had been 2 months ago, shortly before I completed the quiet acquisition of Midwest Financial through a carefully orchestrated web of shell corporations. The bank's gotten a lot pickier, my dad had muttered that night, passing the green beans around. They keep hassling us about our refi paperwork. Maybe it's because you're using the equity to support another of Mark's businesses, I had said calmly. My mom had stiffened at that. Mark's building something meaningful. He just needs us behind him. Not everyone is so selfish. That jab had been aimed at me, the daughter who refused to give Mark another dollar after my own savings had been drained. The one who had juggled multiple jobs to pay her way through business school while Mark blew through the family's money-chasing failure after failure. Your brother's new crypto-themed restaurant will change the industry, Dad had declared, full of conviction. This time next year, you'll see, we'll all be proud of him. What they didn't know was that I had already reviewed their refinancing paperwork. As the hidden owner of Midwest Financial, I had access to every internal file, including the desperate attempts my parents had made to scrape together funding for yet another of Mark's delusions. Rachel glanced at her phone. The branch manager just messaged. Your parents are early. They're trying to win the staff over with homemade cookies. The same recipe they used 5 years ago when they talked the previous manager into draining my account without my consent. I remembered how they'd exploited that long-time friendship. But this time, things would end differently. I brought up the bank's system on my tablet, skimming through the years of documents. In the half-decade since that betrayal, I'd quietly built a financial empire. While my family assumed I was working menial jobs, I was purchasing companies, growing investments, and ultimately acquiring the very institution they used to steal from me. Your brother's been calling the branch again, Rachel noted. He's trying to find out who owns the bank now. Thinks he can pitch his crypto restaurant idea to the board. I couldn't help but smile. The board now answered directly to me. A message from my mother popped up on my phone. Meeting at 10 o'clock. Once we explain Mark's plan, they'll understand. He just needs one more chance. One more chance. The same line they used when they drained my education fund. When they mortgaged their home, once, then twice. Each time betting everything on Mark's brilliance. Each time losing more. The staff's ready for the announcement, Rachel said. Everyone knows their roles. Most still believe you're just the new owner's representative. Only a select few top-level execs knew the truth. The rest, like my parents, would learn today. I studied my reflection in the window. At 32, I still looked younger than most executives at my level. But those who knew my position treated me with the respect I had earned. Everyone except my family, who still saw me as the foolish girl who trusted them. Rachel handed me a folder. Mark sent over a proposal. He's requesting a $2 million small business loan. I flipped through the pages, scanning his overblown projections and unrealistic promises. It was the same fantasy, just dressed in new buzzwords and a bigger price tag. Added to the presentation materials, I said, right beside the documentation from 5 years ago. The clock struck 9:30. In 30 minutes, I'd step into that branch and reveal what their so-called selfish daughter had become while they funneled everything into Mark's failures. Rachel checked her watch. Your car's out front. I rose, straightening my custom-tailored blazer, worth more than what had been stolen from me. Let's go show them what happens when you bet against the wrong daughter. Through the security feeds, I saw my parents sitting in the branch manager's office. My mother fussed with her cookie tray while my father adjusted his collar. Time hadn't been kind to them. They looked worn, tired from years of trying to fund Mark's endless ventures. The new owner is very by the book, said branch manager James Taylor, choosing his words with care. All loan requests must follow formal procedure. But we've been banking here for over 30 years, my father protested. Surely that counts for something. I smirked. They had said almost the same thing 5 years ago. We're practically family, as they robbed me of my future. We wanted to speak directly to the owner. My mom chimed in, sliding a brochure across the desk. Our son has a once-in-a-lifetime idea. Just give us a chance to present it. James glanced at the time. Actually, the owner will be arriving shortly for a special announcement. Their eyes lit up. They believed they were about to sell Mark's dream to someone new. Meanwhile, another security feed showed Mark loitering in the lobby, trying, and failing, to look composed in his crumpled suit. He wasn't invited, of course, but that had never stopped him from crashing an opportunity. Your brother's here, Rachel said as our car pulled up. Right on cue, I replied. Mark never could resist the scent of a fresh opportunity. Inside, the employees were gathering. Many held printed copies of our updated policy handbook, rules I had personally authored to prevent anyone from suffering what I had. Your parents are trying to get Mark into the branch manager's office, Rachel informed me, eyes on her phone screen. James is keeping them occupied. I adjusted the badge clipped to my lapel and flipped open the folder in my hand. It held 3 key pieces of evidence. My original bank statements documenting the unauthorized withdrawals, a detailed breakdown of Mark's history of failed loan attempts, and the current refinancing application, riddled with exaggerated figures and creative accounting. A message popped up from James. Everyone's gathered. We're ready when you are. I took a slow breath, nodded to Rachel, and followed her down to the lobby. As she entered first, she directed security to lock the building. No one would be leaving until I said so. Ladies and gentlemen, James's voice echoed through the room. Today is a momentous day for Midwest Financial. Please join me in welcoming the representative of our new ownership. From my position just beyond the doorway, I watched as my mother subtly tried to nudge Mark forward, clearly thinking this was his golden opportunity to make his pitch. Under new management, James continued, our bank is committed to safeguarding the interests of every customer, especially those who have been taken advantage of in the past. My mother smiled proudly, assuming the words were in support of Mark's ambitions. My father was already organizing the pitch deck in his hands. Then James's tone shifted slightly. It is now my great privilege to introduce not a representative, but the actual owner of Midwest Financial, the youngest bank owner in the state. I stepped into view, the sound of my heels sharp against the polished marble. Please welcome our new CEO and sole proprietor, Miss Sarah Chin. A loud clatter followed. The tray of cookies slipped from my mother's hands, crashing onto the floor. My father's papers scattered like fallen leaves. Mark, Midgren, turned pale and visibly deflated. As I stood at the front of the room, my bank, my rules, I greeted the stunned crowd. Good morning, everyone. I think it's time we had a conversation about unauthorized access to client accounts. The room fell silent as I opened my folder. Let's begin with our revised policy on family-related financial activity, I said, flipping to the first document. Mark shifted uncomfortably as I continued. We now enforce a strict zero-tolerance policy when it comes to withdrawals without proper authorization. My mother's hands were shaking. My father stared at the ground, avoiding eye contact. 5 years ago, I went on, clicking the remote to project documents on the wall. An education savings account was emptied, without the consent of the account holder. The total amount, $47,832.16. I paused, letting the figure linger in the air. That account belonged to me. Gasps rippled through the room. While the staff had been briefed on a case study of unauthorized withdrawal, none had realized it was my story. I clicked to the next slide. That money was rerouted to fund a business venture called Mark's Miracle Meals, a temperature-controlled food delivery service that lasted all of 3 months before going bankrupt. Mark slid lower in his chair as I scrolled through a slideshow of his past failures. Next came Mark's digital dining, total loss after 8 months. Then Meal Metaverse, for months and gone. And now, I lifted the latest document. We have Crypto Kitchen, a blockchain-powered restaurant concept that, according to this proposal, will revolutionize how we eat. It's a legitimate business idea, Mark mumbled. Really? I raised an eyebrow. Because compliance flagged 12 regulatory violations on the first page alone. My mother stood, hands clasped as if in prayer. Sarah, sweetheart, if you just give it a chance. Like I gave you a chance when you took my college fund. I interrupted. Or when you drain the equity from your house, again, to back Mark's latest scheme. My father finally spoke up. We were only trying to help your brother succeed. By deceiving your daughter? I asked, flipping to the next page. Or by submitting false financials? Because this refinancing request, I held it up, contains multiple fabrications. Falsifying loan applications was serious, but today wasn't about legal consequences. This isn't about punishment, I said, my voice softening. This is about putting an end to the cycle. I turned to face my parents. First, your mortgage refinancing is declined. No more second chances. No more gambling your home to fuel Mark's ideas. Mark began to protest, but I held up a hand. Second, all current and future loan requests under the name Mark Chin or any business linked to him are permanently denied. My mother broke into tears. My father looked like a man aged a decade in minutes. Finally, I clicked to the last slide. A trust fund has been established to pay off your current mortgage balance.